India has told America, just back off Kashmir. Jaishankar's message to Donald Trump was loud and clear. There will be no interference by America in India-Pakistan issues, not now, not ever.
National consensus in this country that we do not accept mediation in our relations with Pakistan.
At a recent Economic Times World Leaders Forum 2025, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar made it abundantly clear to the United States and the world, saying, quote, "Since 1970, for more than 50 years now, there is a national consensus in this country that we do not accept mediation in our relations with Pakistan," unquote. Jaishankar's bold statement was delivered directly in response to US President Donald Trump's repeated claims that his administration brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. The claims are an attempt by Trump to play the mediator in the Kashmir conflict and get his hands on the Nobel Peace Prize.
But I stopped the war between Pakistan and India.
Jaishankar says Pakistan issue and especially the core Kashmir dispute is just off limits. That's India's red line and no one be allowed to cross it, not even Trump. Earlier, Jaishankar had declared that the Kashmir conflict will be solved only when Islamabad vacates Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, or POK. Donald Trump has claimed credit for the India-Pakistan ceasefire nearly 40 times now. The most recent one was when Trump claimed credit for the ceasefire in the Oval Office wearing a cap that read, "Right about everything." Now, this is what Trump claims, quote, "We solved what could have been a nuclear war with India and Pakistan. It was getting ready to be a nuclear war." Each time the Indian MEA clarified that it was the Indian military operation which forced Pakistan to request a ceasefire. And guess what? Now even Pakistan has dared to snub Trump. According to Financial Express, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister denied Trump's claims of mediation. Ishaq Dar has been quoted saying, "We did not ask the United States or any other country to arrange talks. The ceasefire request came from Pakistan," unquote. Meanwhile, India-US trade tensions are simmering. From the 27th of August, certain Indian goods entering the United States face a total tariff of 50%. This doubles the existing 25% rate and covers a wide range of products from textiles to seafood. In light of these actions, the Indian Embassy in Washington, D.C. has now hired a second lobbying firm to handle federal lobbying and strategic communications with an aim to reset India-US ties and pull back from the brink. Meanwhile, leaders of the BRICS countries, India, China and Russia, that's Modi, Xi Jinping and Putin, are set to meet in Tianjin for the upcoming SCO summit. Prime Minister Modi's visit for the SCO, which he has snubbed in the past, is seen as a strategic message to Donald Trump that India has its options open. Jaishankar's blunt statement highlights New Delhi's uncompromising stand on Kashmir and Pakistan conflict. Jaishankar clarified that the US did call during the recent war, stating it is a fact that at the time phone calls were made. Phone calls were made by the US, phone calls were made by other countries as well. This is not a secret. However, India's foreign minister clarified that it was the Indian military edge and unanswered airstrikes on Pakistani air bases which forced Islamabad to eventually seek relief in direct call with India. He explained, quote, "When something like this happens, countries do call up. When Israel, Iran and Russia, Ukraine happened, I called up. It is an interdependent world and countries who have strong history of international relations will do that. That is one thing. However, it is quite different to assert a mediation or to assert that an outcome which was negotiated between India and Pakistan was not negotiated between them," unquote. Eventually, Pakistani DGMO had directly called his Indian counterpart to seek a ceasefire. Apart from this ceasefire claims, what really prigged New Delhi was Trump's offer to mediate and help find a solution to the Kashmir issue. Trump called it a 1,000-year-old Kashmir issue between India and Pakistan. Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social back in May, quote, "I will work with you both to see if after 1,000 years a solution can be arrived concerning Kashmir. God bless the leadership of India and Pakistan on a job well done," unquote. The reaction to this offer, India highlighted the fact that it only wants two things. First, no foreign mediation or intervention, and secondly, it wants Pakistan-occupied Kashmir back. Here's what the Indian government sources had said. We have a very clear position on Kashmir. There is only one matter left: the return of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There is nothing else to talk about. If they want to talk about handing over terror heads, we can talk. We don't have any intention of any other topic. We don't want anyone to mediate. We don't need anyone to mediate, unquote. But the Pakistani government had a rather contrasting response to the same. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif welcomed the mediation offer and thanked Trump for expressing his willingness to do so. Pakistan knows it stands no chance against Indian military in any direct conflict and welcomes all interference, be it from the United States, be it China, or even the OIC. Now, in reality, the entire Jammu and Kashmir state has always been part of Indian culture and history for thousands of years, when there was not even a concept of Pakistan. Even in 1947, the king of Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India legally and lawfully. So Pakistan has no historical, no legal claim to Kashmir at all, and eventually it will have to return POK to India. India for the longest time has had a consistent strategic partnership with the United States of America despite ongoing global tensions, but relations have suddenly soured. Although the ceasefire and Kashmir issue may have been one big reason, it is definitely not the only reason. The US-India tariff war also played a central role in the deterioration of bilateral ties after Trump announced new tariffs up to 50% on Indian exports in August. The US also accused India of profiteering from cheap Russian oil and for playing a role in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. However, India rejected these hypocritical claims at a time when US and European Union's trade with Russia is far greater than India's energy imports. Tensions reached a peak with public disputes over US role in the ceasefire and with India protesting US outreach to Pakistan. In fact, Jaishankar also spoke on the US-Pakistan relations, saying, quote, "They have a history with each other and they have a history of overlooking that history. It's not the first time we have seen these things. When you look sometimes at certificates that say somebody in the military will give, it's the same military which went into Abbottabad and found you-know-who there." Media in both the countries report that repeated US mediation claims risked undoing gains built up over years of strategic partnership. Analysts note that while Trump's Kashmir interference tested India's boundaries, the tariff hikes elevated the conflict into a full-scale diplomatic rift. During Rasina Dialogues in March 2025, Jaishankar spoke of the United Nations' role in the India-Pakistan crisis and raised concerns over historical injustices. He claimed that the United Nations should be reformed, strong and fair, especially referring to how the United Nations had made a historical error in not condemning Pakistan's illegal occupation and invasion over parts of Jammu and Kashmir. Jaishankar also said that it is unfair and wrong of the UN to club both the attacker, which is Pakistan, and the victim, which is India, under the same bracket. Now, we went to the United Nations, but what was an invasion was made into a dispute. So the attacker and the victim were put on par. Who were the culpable parties? United Kingdom, Canada, Belgium, Australia, and the United States of America. So pardon me, but I have some question marks on that one. Jaishankar says going forward, there are India's red lines that the United States should not cross. He stated, "Negotiations are still going on, but the bottom line is we have some red lines. Nobody has said the negotiations are off, and people do talk to each other. Where we are concerned, the red lines are primarily the interests of our farmers and to some extent of our small producers. In the past, India has said it is open to a mega trade deal with the US but cannot compromise on core issues, especially genetically modified food and meat-based cattle feed, which is against Indian and Hindu values." Jaishankar added, "So when it comes to trade and the interest of farmers, when it comes to our strategic autonomy, when it comes to opposition to mediation, this government is very clear. If anybody disagrees with us, please tell the people of India that you're not prepared to defend the interest of farmers. Please tell the people of India you don't value autonomy. We will do whatever we have to do to maintain it, unquote. In context of US sanctions on Russian oil imports, Jaishankar again stressed on India's national interest and remarked, "It's funny to have people who work for a pro-business American administration accusing other people of doing business. If you have a problem buying oil or refined products from India, don't buy. But Europe buys it. America buys it. But if you don't buy from us." Do you believe India and US will be able to overcome these differences and reset their ties, or is it too late? Leave a comment with your opinion, hit the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.